One of the goals of the perpetrators of attacks like the one in Paris last month may have been to sow divisions between Muslim and non-Muslim communities. But in some cases, it's had the opposite effect. My next guests want to make sure it stays that way. They're taking part in an interfaith event tonight in Toronto aimed at uniting against Islamophobia. Joe Abbey-Colborne is a Baptist pastor and director of the organization Faith in the City. And Imam Shabir Ali is from the Islamic Information and Dawah Center. Gentlemen, thank you both for coming together like this.
Thanks for having us.
I know you two knew each other before, but this idea brewed, you were telling me, only a really little over a couple of weeks ago. And Joe, you sowed the seeds of this. So how did it start?
2.5 weeks ago, I was just so concerned at the way the backlash of things that have been happening, the fire in the mosque in Peterborough, little sleepy Peterborough, and the woman who was beaten up picking up her kids after school and had her headscarf ripped off and told to go back to where she came from. She was from Toronto. That just, and all the stuff on social media just really started to upset me. And I reached out to some of the Muslim friends that I've made and said, what can we do?
You mentioned social media, and I gather that's a traditional route you might have used before, but you're finding some of the vitriol so hateful that you wanted to take a different turn.
Yeah. So we just, we've been using social media to let people know about this event tonight. And it's been, the response has been very positive.
So what was your response when you first heard Joe's idea?
I thought it was a great idea. For my part, I spare no effort in condemning the assaults, whether it be in Paris or San Bernardino or anywhere else. The opportunity to get together with my colleagues of leaders from other faiths to join together and say that our community is united and we will not let terrorists and others divide us. That is an opportunity I welcome wholeheartedly.
Canadians really are horrified when they read about some of the attacks that are inspired by the hate behind this. I wonder, have you encountered or heard of any members of your community facing any kind of backlash in light of some of these recent attacks, such as Paris?
Not immediately at the Islamic Information Center where I operate. So of course, we hear on the news of most recently a girl in the Thorncliffe Park area who was riding a bus, and she was similarly told to go back home. And of course, her home is Toronto. So such verbal assaults and so on we do hear about, but not in the immediate vicinity in which I do operate.
We have seen wonderful uniting of forces like this in the past after similar events and concern about public backlash. What do you hope will make the difference this time and spark a conversation that not only leads to empathy and nodding in agreement that something has to be done, but in fact action?
I hope that this stimulates my own community, the Christian community, to take some active action to sponsor Syrian refugees. A lot of groups have been getting together and doing that. A lot of Christian groups have been getting together and doing that. I want to encourage that sort of thing. There's a Christian group in our own neighborhood on Concord Avenue. They're going to be there tonight at this event. And it'll be a great opportunity to connect them with the Islamic Center and to reach out. I think that there are concrete things that can come out of this as well, more things like that in our own neighborhood. I want the people in my church to know the Muslim Center and to be able to walk in there and know that they're friends, and know that they're neighbors.
Shabir, you'll be speaking, I gather, tonight?
Yes.
What's the kind of message that you want people to take away?
Well, for my part, I will be making a very clear statement that Muslims do not support violent actions like the ones in Paris and San Bernardino. We believe in peaceful living, in harmony, and in pluralism, in working together with our friends and neighbors, people of all colors and stripes, of different creeds, together to build a safer and better world for our children, our grandchildren. We will also be encouraging people to sign on to a statement put out by Councillor Mike Layton, calling on people to put aside hatred and bigotry and to come together and work hand in hand for a better and safer world.
Shabir, as you know, there's been a lot of discussion about what role Muslim religious leaders, people such as yourself, need to play when it comes to doing enough with dealing with any potential radical elements in their own community. What are your thoughts on that? Is enough being done?
I feel that on the whole enough is not being done. I feel that Muslim scholars need to go deep into our tradition, our history, our texts, and to explain our tradition, history, and texts in a way that our young Muslim boys and girls who are trying to understand what the faith is and what contribution they need to make to the Muslim community and to the greater community around them would not be led into the kind of violent extremism that we see some of them being led into. They're only a small fraction that we keep emphasizing, only small percentage, but it only takes one person out of 100,000 to cause the kind of havoc that we're seeing coming out of Paris and San Bernardino most recently.
And just today in the news, we've got ISIS, or a branch of ISIS, claiming that the people behind the Colorado massacre just a few days ago were in fact supporters of ISIS. Do you worry that that kind of news and that kind of claim can lead to even heightened fears and perhaps more backlash?
Yes, and more so, I also worry about the additional murders that can result from such a thing. If ISIS is putting out a message out there, that message will also inspire young people to take up similar action, thinking that they are being celebrated as heroes, at least by some people, by ISIS, for example. So Muslim leaders like myself have to continue condemning such actions, and not only condemning them, but proving from our sacred text and history and tradition that these are totally out of line, they're not accepted in our religion, they're haram, to use an Arabic word, they're prohibited, illegal, not only in terms of secular law, but also in terms of the law of our own faith.
So Joe, as you look ahead to tonight, what kind of message are you hoping to deliver that people will take home? I
think that as we share our needs together, we become neighbors. I think that it's as we open up ourselves and I had a need to do something. And I needed to reach out to my neighbors. They responded to me, and so in doing that, they become my neighbor. And I think that as we share our needs and our concerns, and as we share in the needs of our communities, we become neighbors and we become a deeper community.
Final thought for both of you. I wonder if you're heartened by what we're seeing in terms of people reaching out to help the Syrian refugees. Is that the kind of thing, Shabir, you would like to see more of, and inspired by events like yours tonight?
Well, absolutely. We need to help people who are suffering all over the world, whether it be in Syria or any other place. We need to welcome refugees. The Quran, in fact, actually speaks about accepting people as refugees when they do come to you as refugees. So to do that is an honorable thing, not only for Muslims, but for others as well.
Joe, it seems to me it's in the spirit of exactly what you're trying to do.
Yeah, and at the event tonight, we're encouraging people to bring donations of clothing, winter clothing, and sleeping bags, and coats, and hats, and mitts. Those will be donated by the Islamic Center to the Christian Resource Center in Regent Park, and to help the homeless in our own community.
Wonderful. We wish you both the best tonight. Thanks for taking the time to come in and speak to us.
You're very welcome.
Thanks for having us on.
Thank you.
Joe Abbey-Colborne is a Baptist pastor and director of the organization Faith in the City, and Shabir Ali is the Imam with the Islamic Information and Dawah Center.